Hey guys, it's Talon. Today I'm going to be coaching a Senna. It's a long video, so we'll just get right into it. Just before you guys know, I can coach people for just $15 for an hour of coaching. So if you're interested in that, DM me on Twitter or Discord with the links in the description below. I hope you guys enjoy. So we can just go over the game initially and then kind of just see what's going from here. So initially, when we're thinking about the matchup, I mean, we have Lucian, so we're going to want to play pretty aggressively, obviously, with him. We just want to make sure we're playing with our Lucian. Like, we want to usually be on a horizontal line with him, like be pretty close to him. But we still want to be spread out so CC
sorry,
doesn't
one
hit
second.
us.
Let me sort out my connection.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, we're good. We're good.
We're good? Cool.
Yes.
Okay, so this is kind of the first already smaller mistake here. You know, I'm going to go over some smaller things because Master's pretty high, so you're generally going to play pretty well, you know, but we're greeting for a stack like really hard here. Like, this is why you're walking up, but you're walking up into minions, and the Lux is here, so Lux can probably root you, and your ADC, you see how far behind your ADC is? You need to make sure that your ADC is close enough to you that you can that he can follow up if you damage someone. Because here, you're just going to get rooted if the Lux is good, and then Kai'Sa is going to follow up on you, and you're going to lose the trade. And the minions will hit you as well, so.
Okay, yeah, I think I just, like, these two games, I get a bit, like, you know, you see red, and then you just try to go for it.
No, I get greedy for stat. Like, I play some Senna. I started playing more Senna recently, and I get very greedy for the stacks. But you see here how you guys were trading together this time? Like, that's why you win that trade so hard, is because you and Lucian are attacking the same person at the same time. That's typically what you want to try to do with your ADC. So, yeah, again, now you see how your Lucian, he walked up before you, and that's why he loses the trade initially. And that's why you get low here, is because, again, now when you guys trade together, every time you trade together is when you're winning these trades. So just make sure you're focusing on the position of your ADC and trading when they're trading, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, overall not too bad. Pretty decent start.
Yeah.
And then we know our jungle's here. So
I can see it. Yeah, but I can see it now. What you mean, as in,
yeah.
If the opponent was a bit quicker, I could have just died too easily.
Yeah. Like, usually they won't punish this, but the higher you go, the more often this will get punished. So, like, oh, I like how you go Q like third as well, because you don't really need your E like until level 4 anyways.
And I figured the higher up I get when I have to contribute to the damage, like for the early game damage, it's really good to get 2 Qs.
Yeah, so I mean, the only time that I would say I would go E third is if your jungler's really close, because you can like hide them for a gank, you know what I mean? So.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So yeah, in that case, you'd want to go E third, but otherwise, yeah, going Q again is fine. Okay. And then once again, I mean, here you're low, so it's like you kind of can't follow up, but you notice again how your Lucian's kind of making the mistake. He's trading by himself, and that's why he's 1 HP here. If he waits for you, then it's fine. And so, like, even potentially because even though you were low, you could have just walked up because you know that your ADC is like going so far up. But this is mostly your ADC's fault, but it's like that same issue that he has that you were having with the trading without the other one being next to you.
Yeah. It's
like
more
that is really the main thing, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and then now I think I don't back at the...
I would, well, Cat's coming, so I would start walking up, and I would E the Volibear to hide him. Like, I would try to get Volibear in with me, so that... Very good. But this works because your Cat's already there, so it's fine. And then, yeah, that's good. This is really good. I mean, overall, you're playing this game pretty well so far, so it's pretty good. Usually, do you feel like your lane phase is good, or like where do you see most of your games go wrong?
So for me, it always... Actually, come to think of it, sometimes when I get too hungry, and then, you know, there is some games, but these two I didn't do that. But there is some game where I died like maybe 1 or 2 times in the lane, and then this is very hard to come back, especially with the new patch, I think.
Yeah,
because
so
the game is so fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing the 2 main reasons, from what I can tell here, is you die getting greedy for stacks, and then you die because you're not paying attention to your ADC. Which, no, like, trust me, I get greedy for stacks. I remember, like, 2 days ago, I literally killed myself for a stack. Like not on purpose, but, like, it happens. You always want to get as many as possible, so sometimes it's hard. It's definitely understandable.
and then sometimes I have to balance also like supporting my ADC and also trying to go for damage. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just yeah.
I mean, you're definitely more focused. I would say you should focus more typically on like damage whenever you identify your ADC is not super good, and then when you actually think they're doing well is when you can focus more on healing and shielding them. But I mean, with Senna,
Yes.
the damage is going to be kind of the important part a lot of the times. Your mechanics are good
Yeah.
on her. I mean, for sure, like you're doing a good job of getting stacks onto people. I think there's a few times you could probably queue people first to get the slow and then auto them to get a stack easier, but overall it's good.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That that makes sense. Yeah,
And then for this
because
first
I used to.
objective, sorry, go ahead.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying I used to play a lot of many different champions, but I think my climb really improved up the ladder when I just decided to focus on like one or two things.
Yeah, that's
Because I
what
think I
works
was
for
just
me
trying
usually
out way too
too.
many things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'll usually try to learn 5-ish champs and then like I'll narrow it down to 2 to 3, and then when usually that's when I have success is when I just stick to 2 to 3 champs. It's usually the best for me. So, and sometimes I one trick. I mean, for mid lane I straight just one trick Jace and that was what works. So
Oh yeah, I watched that video too.
yeah, Jace is so fun. But this is good just being with your team. I mean, again, the team fighting is pretty straightforward. You just sit back, you space people, and you auto them. There's not a ton to go
Yeah.
over here. I'm gonna go just look at D again because I was kind of talking. I just want to see if anything really goes wrong here, but I'm guessing your position is pretty good overall. Going back a little bit.
Yeah. For me, one of the reason I pick Senna is also so I like to play ADC a lot as well. So in
Yeah,
the event that I get, even if I pick ADC first, you always get the support role. So at least the mechanics are somewhat similar.
yeah,
That was
that's
the
very similar.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you play this fight well. It's really good. And so far, there's not too many mistakes. It is a game where we're doing quite well. We're 0-0-5, and we're having a good start to the early game. So, I mean, I would eat him here. Like, you could have eat him way earlier, and he wouldn't probably die, the Scion, because he would be untargetable from the Kai'Sa. So,
Yeah.
you should have probably done that to save him, but it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. I should think about
The
using
E
my E
usage,
more
yeah.
than just like a fancy escape or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, you could use it to hide teammates and stuff like that. It's really like that's like the pretty supportive way to use it, right? Where it seems like it
Yeah.
is your main focus, dealing damage in the fights, which is good. Like you said, like kind of playing like ADC. But yeah, maybe just thinking more about if you can save your teammates with that type of thing or set up the ganks, because that's a really OP usage of it, is when you can set up ganks, and it's hard to always get your team to like realize that's what you're doing and gank because they're hidden. But if you can, that's a really good way to set up ganks as well.
Yeah. I play more support with Senna if I'm playing with my friends, but mainly
Yeah.
I play solo. So that's why I choose to play in this two games like damage.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You definitely
Yeah.
want to try to carry because solo queue is more inconsistent. And even for solo queue, I think the one thing that people don't like do super well in general, which is not necessarily what I see here, just in general, is like people don't adapt based on how their teammates are. So like you can have games where you're in solo queue, but you realize your teammates are just really good. So like in that case, you can still play around them, of course. But in a game like this, nobody really seems to be playing super well. Like Lucian's not, like we could tell from the lane phase, Lucian's not that great. But we would
Uh-huh.
generally want to look at the gold for that, right? Like, I would say every time you're back, I don't know if you've checked the gold on your team yet, or like checked the scoreboard, but I think it's really important to understand who's strong. Like here, when you're backing, you should 100% be looking at the scoreboard to see who's strong, and if you're not, that's definitely a bit problematic.
Okay. Okay.
Also, for the
I
build, do you
if
ever
I
try Black Cleaver or no?
I do. There is a version of the build where I do a black cleaver as well.
Hmm.
But in this case, I think I remember thinking that like these people have a lot of like shield,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
this is
just like
fine
with the
here.
Lux
Second
and the
item.
Garen, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
picked the Serpentine. Yeah,
No, I think that's fine. I was just wondering in general because I've been liking Black Cleaver a lot. Second item when I can go it. So
yeah. I mean, I've been yeah, Black Cleaver and then the Sunderer is also okay.
yeah, Sunder is not bad. For me, it's a bit expensive, so I'm not always a fan of it, but like it's a perfectly good item to go.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean the vanilla one is also like Mana Moon, Black Cleaver. I think this one is nice.
Yeah. Is the other game a Senna game or is it something else?
The other game is also Senna. I figured it was better
That's
to
good, yeah.
focus on. Yeah.
No, I think it's
One.
great to learn Senna. I think Senna is like a champ that can always be useful. It's just she's so squishy, so if they're like have a ton of assassins, that's when the game gets kind
Yeah.
of hard. But she's always useful and she's always good. I think she's a pretty good champ to one trick, honestly, in support. Even if she's
Yeah.
not like the strongest right now.
Yeah. I just try to communicate to my teammates a lot because sometimes, like in the selection,
Yeah,
because sometimes they get annoyed if I pick Senna as like, oh, you're trying to play ADC or something.
yeah.
So I have to slowly explain to them as
But here's a smaller thing, but I mean, you could have pretty easily positioned your ult to hit more people. Like here, if you just walk slightly backwards, you could have ulted straight forward and hit like you see here. Instead of ulting to the right, if you just backed
oh
up a little
yeah,
bit, you ult like 4 people, potentially hitting them. So it is a pretty small thing.
good point.
But yeah, because like overall, again, this is a game where you're playing quite well in, so there's not like a whole lot to focus on, just the small things that we can try to focus on. So I think the E usage, early game paying attention to where your ADC is and only trading when they're closer to you, and then just like those small positioning things for your ult are probably the main things that we can take from this game at the moment, because again, it does seem to go quite well.
Okay. Yeah, but you that's a good point actually because sometimes the small things is the difference, between.
It is for like, I mean, Master Plus, you understand the game. It's not like I'm gonna be like teaching you the entire game. It's just I'm just helping point out some small things because you can't always tell the small things. It's harder to identify always. But I think like the
Yeah.
laning phase thing is a big thing. It's not a small thing. All the other ones are. But this like being near your team, like paying attention to your teammate's position in lane is a really, really big thing. And so I think that's like,
Yes.
if we focus on that, it's gonna be very good. I find it a little weird that you don't go boots here, just to have the movement speed, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Uh, I tend to do that a lot because
Not go boots.
sometimes
I think. I mean, I'm someone who doesn't build boots super often, but I would say after second item you should at least get like tier 2 boots. But your positioning is good here to get yourself over the wall. Like I like how you're just putting yourself over the wall behind everyone, positioning really well to just auto people for free here. I mean, this is good. Obviously, like for me, I mean, little thing autoing that stack because you know the fight's already won, so you might as well be looking for the stacks at this point. You know what I mean? Like you're at 57, you want to obviously get to 60, so. Again, going on the mid wave to get stacks here is what you should be doing, but now you're losing those stacks in mid. So you probably should have like 3 to 5 more stacks from just this fight instead of chasing this Veigar kill, because the stacks are really important for you, and the Veigar's you're probably not going to be able to get them. Even if you do, you're losing a lot of. Again, there's another minion wave on Volibear. You could have gotten the mid wave with Lucian, then gone with Volibear. Instead, all you do is you get 1 stack here, and I'm pretty sure Katarina would kill Veigar even if you weren't here. And then you're farming this,
Yeah.
which, I mean, it's fine to farm, I guess, but again, you'd be getting way more stacks if you're going mid and top with your team instead of just kind of sitting here and farming, so.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah, because I think one of my biggest issue, like even with jungle or any role I play, is uh, I feel like I'm comfortable with the fighting, but
Yeah,
when the fighting is not happening, sometimes I don't know how to maximize my time.
I think
So
that
I think
definitely seems like, because your mechanics, at least from this game, seem quite good, and your team fighting seems pretty good, so definitely, I think that seems to be probably what's going wrong. But again, we'd have to kind of see a loss, because this is a game where you haven't even died yet, so hopefully we have a game that's a bit more, like, close, you know?
yeah, maybe
This is good,
for
though.
when we do like next session, I try to record myself when we have a loss.
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
I
we can
think
still learn a lot from this,
when
but
I
yeah.
was in the middle of recording these games, it just
Yeah.
happened that it was like both wins. So yeah,
No, it's fine to be wins. Like you can still, okay, this is obviously greedy, but I don't really, like, you know that. It's not like I'm really gonna explain much to you here. Of course, we greeded a bit for the turret. But we didn't need to do that. It's all good. It happens. It does seem
yeah,
greed is a small thing that we can work on, but like everyone gets greedy sometimes. And then here for your build,
yeah.
I think you're going Edge of Night. I mean, I can understand wanting the Edge of Night for Lux, but in terms of damage,
Uh-huh.
you kind of at this point in the game would want a percentage-based penetration item, because the armor pen you get from Edge of Night is like 10, right? Or 8? I think it's 8. It's really low.
Yeah.
And the amount that you get from a percentage base, so they're going to have roughly 60 to 100 to even 200 armor at this point in the game, and it does, what level are you? You're like level like 12 or 13 or something. You're level 11, so you get like 24% armor pen from that. So say they had 100 armor, you'd have 25 armor pen on that person instead of 8, right? So you have way more armor pen if you're going a percentage based penetration item here. So don't usually go too flat penetrate. Do you know what I mean with flat penetration?
Oh,
Or no?
go with the percentage scaling item.
By like third item, you're going to want one of those. Yeah, you don't need like, and also again here, you're not with your team. You're just kind of going for turret by yourself, which this doesn't really achieve much for you. Like your team could die here and this could be really bad. So the fact that you're going alone is not great. Your team was fighting for a while there and you were clearing the mid wave. So just be paying a little more attention to your team. I know you wanted the inhib and that's understandable, but your team would have won that fight and then you would have got the inhib after anyways. Instead, your team didn't really win it because you weren't there with them. So
okay, so more about like the long-term things.
Yeah.
Like the not just the short-term gain kind of
Well,
thing.
it's like,
I
okay,
guess.
let me explain it to you this way. So just look at the game right now, right? So we're winning really hard. We're Senna. We're scaling really well, right? We have Scion, we're scaling. So we're super far ahead, right?
That's okay.
So how do we lose? What's the only, or like, just tell me, how do you think you could possibly lose this game? I'm gonna go even a little further back to when we were up here.
Yeah, I can see if my team die, I don't think I can defend against all of them.
Yeah, if your team dies, they either get Baron or they just straight up go for your turrets, right? And that's the only way you could lose because you're so far ahead. If you take a 5v5, you win every time. But the only way you lose is if, like, have you ever had those games where your top laner just decides to split push the whole game and then you lose the 4v5s at Dragon or something?
Yes.
That's basically what you're doing here, except it's less extreme because you're in mid, so you're close-ish, but what you're doing here is what the top laner does instead of going to Dragon. And then you lose the team fight when you're ahead, and then the game goes and you lose. That's what could happen here, because you're not thinking about, like, when you're so far ahead, all you have to think about is how could they win, not what's the best play anymore. Because all you're trying to do is win, right? So if the enemy only has one possible way to win, just deny that way, and then it's free. So if you're in this fight with everyone else, there's no way you lose because of how strong you are. But obviously, if it's a 4v5, it's possible that your team, if they're stupid, tries to go in 4v5 because they're greedy, and then they're all dead by the time you can get there. So
okay, yeah, because now I understand when you pointed out, because
yeah. No,
there's no way I can
it's
do
like this is a
1v5.
good play that you're making. It's just you can't trust the randoms to understand that, right? So because of that, you have to think more about helping your team.
Okay, I got it.
But in general, again, I mean, this is obviously a great game, like where you're ahead, but you're playing well overall. Like, I don't see a ton of huge mistakes, which is good, and that makes me confident that it's like these small things where you just lose the game because you make some play randomly to like split push or to not be with your team, and like that's way easier to fix than if you were doing 100 different things wrong, right? So that's good.
Okay. Yeah, I think that there is also now I recall there was one recent game I lost, and it was also this kind of similar situation. Only this time, like, we all died because we were split up.
Well, let's look at this again, right? So here, same thing, and yeah, I hear what you're saying, but like, you're going for the Gromp by yourself, right? You don't know where their jungler is. He could come here, and that's the only way you lose. Again, I think it's good that you want gold, but your team is nowhere near you. So you have no way, like if you get caught here, you have no flash, you're just dead, right? So, and then you would lose the dragon and possibly Baron. So again, even if this play is normally fine to go for gold, because of the fact that the only way they can win is if you die here, you just can't be doing this.
Okay, got it.
Which it looks like you won't get punished for it in this game, but again, yeah, this is how you could possibly have that game, like you said, where you end up losing because of this random silly mistake, which is, it happens, we all do it, but you know, just trying to prevent those when we can.
Okay.
And now that you have flash here, I like to like position more aggressively with flash, obviously, and just like every fight I'm trying to use my flash. Like if it's like a dragon fight, like I want to be in a position to use my flash. And also here, I wouldn't even farm this just because I would go with my team because you're not going to be able to back in time for your item anyways. Like, I know you want Edge of Night, but you'll get enough gold for Edge of Night just from this fight, so there's no reason to like try to do that, which is fine. Again, it's a small thing. And then here I would E my team, like when we're farming this, once they're coming in. So like as soon as they come in, I would just E. But again, we're not using our E. I think we could just use it earlier because it makes it really hard. They don't really know where we are, and it's a lot easier to just ambush them or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think the E usage could be a bit better, but it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I could have done like that before the
Yeah, just a
fight
little
started.
earlier because like you just want to make sure if they come into the dragon, they die, and if they don't come in, then you get a free dragon. So
Oh.
nice kill, and I'm guessing you end here. Maybe not. I don't know. Lux says good wave clear.
I think this is it.
No, yeah, I think
No,
you're
no,
gonna
I
have to
think
back
a
off.
little bit more. Yeah.
But you get 2 inhibs. That's good. And again, like when you're rooted there, you know, because the E obviously takes a little bit of time to go, so you might as well have just E'd there just so you can walk up and help your team. Again, it's like a small thing with the E, but I feel like you could probably just use it more in general. And because you're always using it like when you're running away, like here it doesn't really get you much value because no one's near you. So it gives you a little move speed,
Yeah.
but like not really, you know, a big thing. So is your jungler alive? Isn't your jungler dead? So doing this without your jungler is kind of strange. Or is I'm pretty sure Volley's your jungle. So yeah, this is not a great idea because again, we think about the same question I asked you earlier. How do you lose? Well, you could lose from a random Baron steal when your jungler's not here. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and then after that, maybe they can convert that into an elder or something.
yeah, I mean, I would guess even if they got the Baron, you would still win. But it's just like that's the only way you could lose, which is what we need to think about more. Is just not like once we get to a certain point, just what's the only way we could possibly lose, and then as long as we prevent that, we're good. And then here you're wasting a lot of time in the base when your team's fighting and you're not ulting them or anything. So we just need to be quicker about decision making for items. Like it's okay, but yeah, like we're wasting a lot of time here, so that's not great.
Yeah,
Your team
I
might
actually
even
could have
end.
done that when I was walking.
Yeah, your team ended the game and you were yeah. So that's okay, but here I'm gonna go through some quick notes of the game. You see my screen, right? So we're just gonna get some notes for the game, and then we'll go for the next one. So Senna.
Sure.
Then just one. So in lane, trade only when our ADC can follow up. Does that make sense, right?
Yes.
Okay, like we talked about that, yeah, just like make sure we're closer to our ADC when we're farming. Now you still want to be spread out enough where you don't get CC'd, but you want to be like close enough where you can both auto the same person and follow up. Just if I just say better E usage, will you understand what that means?
Yes.
Because I'm gonna send this to you after the game or after the session, so I just want to make sure we understand. So
Sure.
after that, it was don't greed for stacks, which is pretty straightforward, but goal stack, same thing. And then it was kind of the late game. Just think about when we're ahead, think about the enemy win condition and deny it. Does this also make sense, or
Think about the.
or is there another way
okay.
I can explain
Yeah.
it? Okay.
I think that makes sense. It's basically like how
Like the
how could
Baron
they
thing
win,
or
right?
that type of stuff.
That's the
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Okay, I think there wasn't a ton to go over because of how dominant the game was. Those were kind of the main things, and then like better positioning for ult, but that was a really small thing. I can't spell positioning. There we go. Okay, so we can go to the next one. I mean, those are kind of the 5 main things. I don't think there was anything else that was huge unless you can think of something, but
Sure.
and then
Yeah, I think for next time I will also record. I will actively look for some losses, so I think it can be.
yeah.
Yeah. Because this one this one was a bit wonky because I had to I forgot to press record in the game, so
Oh, that's fine.
I
I've
literally
done
just
like
yeah.
these recordings before. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It's not a big issue. So initially, also small thing that we can think about is just the enemy jungler and how likely we think it is to gank early. So like for Darius, we know he can kind of gank at level 3 because he can like hook flash us, but he's also not great because he doesn't have a dash. So we don't have to be super
Okay.
worried about him if we have our flash up. So we can be pretty aggressive in general. The only small thing when you're recording these issues or these replays is I can see your vision. Ideally, I don't see your vision because obviously then it's harder to like explain what
Right.
I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
because you kind of like see everyone.
Yeah, it's not an issue. It's
Yeah.
still fine, but
Okay. Yeah.
and then initially this lane should be good for us as long as we don't get hooked by Blitzcrank. So it's really that simple. As long as Blitzcrank doesn't hook us, we just win. But once again, we're gonna need to walk up when our ADC walks up, and so now that he uses hook, we should be playing very aggressive. So that's just one thing. I don't know if you do it. We'll see in a second. But whenever, like, you need to pay very close attention to enemy cooldowns. In this lane, Samira can't do anything to you early game because of your range advantage. And if Blitzcrank doesn't have hook, he's not a champion. So whenever Blitzcrank uses hook, we immediately walk up and we trade. So as soon as that hook was landed, you should just be walking straight forward. Because even if Samira tries to go on you, you have two range champions. You can both auto attack the same person, and Blitzcrank can't do anything until his hook is back up. So
Yeah.
like we should be walking farther up here even, just like to get one more poke. Like I would have just walked up for another auto, but overall you do that well. You still trade with her, but we just could have been a little bit more aggressive just while the hook was on cooldown.
Okay. Sorry, I plugged that into my
Yeah,
computer.
that's fine. Don't worry about it. And then Blitz is level 1 here, so even like here, you don't have to be worried about getting hooked by Blitz if he's level 1 and you're level 2. And but again, he uses hooks, so the fact that you're trading so hard is amazing. This is good. And then the jungler comes, unfortunately, but
Oh no. Yeah, that was.
and then you got a bit greedy to kill the Samira. One other thing here that we see, which I'll go back on, is who you're auto attacking. So typically it's going to be better to auto attack the damage dealer when you can. So I'm just going to go like it was like here. So watch as Blitzcrank goes onto your ADC, and then if you should be autoing Samira here, because look, when he goes onto your ADC, Samira is super vulnerable and he can't do anything to you. So if you're autoing Samira here, then she is super scared and she gets lower health, and then your Jin's not going to probably die to her because she's going to back off earlier. Instead, she feels comfortable flashing in because she has enough HP. But if you were autoing her the whole time, she would be dead probably. So
Yeah.
just auto attack the damage dealer usually when the engaged support goes in on your carry.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes yeah, I need to get used to the manually targeting, to be honest, I think.
Yeah. I mean, like, sometimes if you think you can kill the tank, like, that's okay, but otherwise you should target the damage dealer. So this is actually a pretty good replay early because there's more mistakes to start in the lane phase. The lane phase, I just think, is by far the most important part for any, like, range support champion, really, and it seems like you play the team fights pretty well, so that's really what I want to focus on here. So again, that's an important thing, is targeting damage dealer when they go in. And again, he uses hook here. He unfortunately hits you, but even though he hits you, that's actually another great thing. We saw the mistake here from them. Where was Samira? She was back here, and Blitzcrank hooks.
Oh,
Samira didn't even auto
oh
you.
yeah, they literally went like two opposite directions.
Exactly, you see? So now I'm guessing that Samira doesn't even win this trade because you have two people autoing her, and the Blitzcrank backed off and did nothing. And like they literally, yeah, they went on the opposite time. So yeah, here, like, she doesn't even win that trade that hard. She does win it slightly, but it's like pretty close because of the, like, you probably would just be dead if Blitzcrank kept walking up, for example. So or your Jhin would be dead, I mean, but yeah.
Yeah.
Again, he used hook, but since we're so low, we can't trade as aggressively as normal.
Damn, I missed that.
It happens. Now our jungler's nearby, so we want to trade kind of aggressively when we can. So if he uses hook here and he misses, we're going to want to start walking far up. He's going to end up hitting it on your Jhin. Your Jhin does die here. It's good that you keep trading on them, though, even though they're dead. You should have even walked up further because you're jungler, so you didn't pay attention to where your jungler was, so you saw you walk back there. If you kept walking forward, you probably would have gotten a kill, or at least something, you know, slightly better would come of it. That was pretty greedy, not gonna lie. If you got hooked there, that would have been bad, but it's fine.
Yeah,
like, that's
yeah,
fine to go
I
for. And you got the kill, so it worked out. It's good. That's good. Well played. Very well played.
Yeah, I find it's the laning phase that is the most inconsistent. Actually, you're right. You pointed that out.
Yeah, there's a lot of mistakes going on here, but they're not always getting punished, and it's really hard to even see that you have a mistake if it doesn't get punished, so it's pretty
Yeah,
understandable. But now that we're in a good spot, probably should be a pretty easy game because we have good front lines to target. Like we have a Blitzcrank and a Ornn. It's usually pretty easy to play Senna when you can just target front lines with Kraken Slayer and everything, so. But here
yeah.
you're walking, like,
Kraken
this is
Slayer
fine to
is
get.
my favorite.
Go ahead, sorry. I interrupted, my bad.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just commenting. Yeah, Kraken Slayer is like 99.9% of the time what I take. But
Yeah, I like Kraken Slayer more too. Sometimes I'll go fleet into like hook champs because it makes it easier to dodge the hooks and stuff, but in this game I'd still go Kraken Slayer because they have a tank, so.
okay.
But yeah, fleet's a little better in lane overall, but yeah, Kraken I think is better more often. That's really good root. I love when Sennas do that, when they hit the minion when it's 1 HP, so the root like goes instantly.
Yeah, I like it because it's like, oh, surprise, and then you
Yeah.
can, yeah.
So at this point, it's pretty unlikely that we can ever kill them, so we shouldn't really be looking for kills. We should just farm and then back up whenever we can, or just go to drag. But your ADC goes in here, so you have to try to save him. That's just unfortunate, to be honest. You were just trying to save your ADC. I don't really have a problem, even though you got hooked there. That was pretty fine. You played that well. Your ADC is kind of the one who makes the mistake there of getting hooked.
Uh-huh. Oh, what?
So we
Yeah,
don't have
and I
ult or
find,
flash. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
oh yeah, and I find like it's a lot of situation like this sometimes. Like I forget to go back or something. So when the dragon come up, it's like yeah, it's that split from the team kind of
Yeah, you
feeling.
gotta back a little earlier, possibly, if you can. But here you had to stay because your ADC again like inted, so that was just unfortunate. But here, I mean, the fight goes well. You don't really contribute much to this. Your team just kind of wins it, which is good. But yeah, you played this fight fine overall. Oh, it looks like you might die. Oh, you survived, nice.
Oh, that was close.
I'm guessing we're not going to see a ton more to improve on. Again, your team fighting seems quite good, so that's good. I think the lane phase is going to be the most important. And just like, yeah, just try these things in lane, like make sure you're not so scared when they use abilities. Like if the Blitzcrank uses hook, walk up, stay near your guy again in lane, like we were saying last game. And then if they engage on your teammate, go on the damage dealer. Now here you walk up when your team's already dead. You should have already given up on this. Like you don't need to be dead here. So you go way too far when your team's already dead.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, that's a mistake, you know. Yeah. I'm not here to point out everything that you do wrong, right? Like these things are obvious, so we don't need to go over that, you know, just in the future. We'll work on that and we'll be good. But I do like that you're rotating here just to help your teammate because your Jhin is a champ that's very good on his own. Now I would go back to Jhin at this point because we see he's low HP, so it's good that you go back and help him if you can.
Yeah. Sometimes I prefer to help the team because if I can hit their opponents, their lane opponents more, then I can get the stack.
Yeah, you want to be very focused on the stacks. So like if you can ever go to your lane, shove the lane, like help your ADC shove it, and then you get the stacks from there, and then you go mid, you get the stacks from there. Just like focusing on stacks a lot, because even in some of these team fights, you could be sneaking in extra autos on the stacks. Like sometimes you'll ignore the stack and just go for the kill, and that's fine. Like you can go for the kills, right? Because obviously you want to win the fight, but there's times where you don't really lose much for it, but you still don't end up going for it, even though you could. I like that you're not scared to use ult too. Like even just on a situation like that, just using it early just to get the shielding is good. Like some people are too scared to use it. And then here, again, you're playing this well. Like your fighting in general is good. The flash was maybe not necessary, but it's all good. I think that I really like, it's funny because whenever I coach a different role, I usually see the exact same mistakes from pretty much every role that I'm coaching. Like all the junglers I've coached have like the same issue pretty much. All of the supports I've coached that are playing enchanter supports, this is what usually goes wrong, is the lane phase where they're not like doing the same things that you're doing, and then their team fighting in their like later parts of the game is always pretty good. So it's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, again, there's small things in the fights like that can be different. Like again, the greeting for stacks thing and the going a bit too far forward. But I just feel I don't need to nitpick everything because like you've gotten to the point you are because you are good enough and you can figure these things out. So I more just want to point out the things that might not be as obvious or
Yeah. No, I think the what you said about the E usage and also the like how to think about the laning positioning, that was I think something I did not spot myself, to be honest,
yeah, yeah,
especially for like about the mentality of how to deny the win condition. Yeah, that kind of thing that
yeah, yeah. No, that's what I when I coach people because I've started doing this. It's only been like 2 weeks or so. It's like I feel like
okay.
sometimes I'm not providing enough because it's like people don't like at this point in the game. It just feels like there's not a ton to improve on, So sometimes it's like, what am I even doing at this point? If that makes sense, because it's really like the
Hmm.
early game that we need to focus on, and then a lot of times when I'll try to improve, I'll just find like one or two things that I really have bad in my gameplay, and I'll try to really focus on that. And then the rest of the game, I just play the same because it's really hard to improve on like 10 different things at once. You know what I mean? It's much easier if you're just focusing on one or two things. So I think really for you, like after this coaching session, I want you to just super heavily focus on your lane phase. Even if you lose some games, just make sure like everything you're thinking about in your lane phase is like the main thing. And then past that, just kind of play like you normally do in the team fights and everything, and you're gonna be pretty good. And then yeah, thinking about your E usage in fights is gonna be pretty useful. But
Yeah, I'm not sure why I shot that jungle monster.
yeah, I don't know. But in here, it's pretty fine. Again, just staying in the back line, just autoing. You're getting a good amount of autos off. You could have been a bit closer to your team there, but like it's fine. And then unfortunately we get hooked, but we have flash, so it's fine. It does look like we could have given up on this fight earlier because we already know we're gonna lose this fight, but you're kind of staying, trying to maximize damage. But maybe you win, but I don't know. Maybe it ends up working.
Oh,
It,
I remember what I was thinking. My mentality was I saw the Tryndamere going up the bottom side.
oh yeah,
So
no, I
I
didn't
tried
notice
to
that. You're right. You're right. Never mind.
I
It was a good
tried
play.
to yeah, I tried to distract them.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't notice
Yeah.
that. No, you're right. Then yeah, that's a great play. I didn't think about that for sure. And you still ended up surviving and getting a ton of damage. So you played that like very well. Your spacing was good to not get caught out. The only thing was getting hooked, but like it's pretty hard to keep track of everything. But ideally, we don't get hooked in that fight, so we have flash for longer. But yeah, really well played. And stopping so that the Tryndamere can maybe get the turret is good.
Yeah. But you're right. Like I feel like I'm if I have to say um what phase I'm the most I wouldn't say scared, but yeah, for lack of a better word, scared. Uh it would be the laning phase because I feel like once the game open up outside of the laning, then I kind of enjoy it a lot. But the
Yeah, yeah,
most nerve wracking part is the laning. Yeah, for me.
yeah. That's the thing that I enjoy the most. But for support, I found it a lot more difficult than the other roles to play lane because you have to think about your teammate as well, right? So it's not just you.
Yeah,
When I play like lane and top lane or mid lane, it feels like I can just think about the matchup and that's all that matters. But now I have to think about another person, and so really like that's why it's been a big thing for me is paying attention to the positioning of my laner and where they are, rather than just like how do I think the matchup goes or that type of thing. So it's definitely a different way to lane compared to all the other roles. But it looks like we actually just kind of. I'm surprised you win. I didn't really. I'm gonna go watch this back because we were kind of talking. So I'm just gonna see what happens here and see if there's anything we really do wrong.
to be honest. Mm, yeah, I think this one
So your
we were
team
very
dies
close
pretty.
to
Your
losing
team kind of
this.
goes in pretty far. I don't really think there's a ton you can do to impact this. Like you're trying to get as many autos off, which is good, and then your team just goes pretty deep and kind of dies. You don't really have a huge way to follow up on them there because you're Senna, right? You have to sit in the back. So I don't know. This doesn't seem too problematic from you. Your team just kind of ends up losing it. Overall, you're getting a good amount of autos and damage off in that fight, and I mean maybe you could have eat earlier to like walk in with your team or something, but I don't think so. I think it's pretty fine overall. I am surprised that we win this, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think I had. I think later on we get a bit lucky, to be honest, with how the fighting turned out.
Huh. I mean, that's a nice thing about Senna. The scaling is so good. Like, if you get to late game, usually gonna be fine. But yeah, I would say also just small thing again is you're like paying attention to stacks. Like, I don't think you think quite enough about stacks in the game. Like, I don't see you going to side lanes to help your team a ton, which normally as support. And again, you even farm that cannon. Like, you shouldn't farm the cannon because you want to get the stack from it, right? So
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, I need to work on that.
and you could just go to side lane more and just like another thing is like you can again when I tell you to like work on these like specific things, it's like you can over focus on getting every stack in the game. So like you can even just think about say like first I think focus on the lane phase, but if you feel like you improve your lane phase a lot, I would say a next thing that you could improve on is the stack thing. So just over focus on getting stacks. So say like you go into a game, right, and you're just like, I want to get X amount of stacks. I don't really know what's a good number of stacks specifically, but I want to get this many stacks at this point. So just over focus on going to every side lane to get those stacks and everything and all of that. I'm going to go back again because I just want to see what happens in this fight. I'm kind of talking while the game's going on, so we'll just see. I mean, here we're just sitting
Okay.
back autoing as our team goes in, which is fine. I mean, that's really our job as ADC. You do a good job of spacing so that the Samira is not on you. And then it's just kind of you walk back into the Morgana route, but you didn't have a ton of other places to go, it doesn't seem like in this fight. Because here, like where you are is pretty fine, the position here. Then you go up here, they all just dash in on you really fast, so you can't really walk anywhere apart from where you walk. So the fact that you get rooted is like not great, but I think your positioning is good to spread out from your team from Samira ult. And like I think in general you play these team fights pretty well. It doesn't work out in that situation because you get rooted, and ideally you are paying attention to that route. Or maybe you could have used E to make it harder again for you to be spotted. I don't even, you probably had E, I think, there. I don't think you used it recently. So
Yeah, I watched. I think the last 30 seconds I did not use the E.
so I think as soon as you saw them going in, you might as well, like, you know, okay, so yeah, I'll talk more specifically about that then. So you see here, the Samira goes in on you and you walk back, right? Like you go to the left here, like here, when she's going in. You might as well just E when you're walking back, because you're walking back anyways. You don't really need to get an extra auto. Like if you're like here when you're standing here, if you just E'd, it's way harder for them to catch you, right? So that's a small thing, but I think that's again one of the small things we need to focus on when we do get our laning phase better is the E usage in team fights. So for the late game, the E usage and then getting more stacks is going to be probably what we want to focus on. Just in team fights, whenever you feel like you might get caught out or you feel like you're in a bad situation, just try to make it a habit to click your E.
Okay, but you would say I have to primarily focus on the laning spacing first, right? Did I
Well,
get
the
that
thing
correct?
is, right, so lane and late game are different points of the game. So you can focus on both at the same time because you just focus on your laning when you're in the lane phase. And then when you get to the next part of the game, you can focus on that stuff, right? So you can focus on both of them at the same game, or you can just go into a game and just focus on one if you feel like that's going to be easier for you. So it's up to you. And if you want to focus on both at the same time, I think the lane phase is more important to
remember
improve
this.
on. But yeah, you could do both, or you could just do one and both is fine. It's just kind of up to you. And you steal. This is how we win. Okay, we got a crazy steal.
I remember I got lucky with something, but yeah, it
Okay,
was this.
there's still an issue here though, and I mean, again,
Mhm.
I don't want to just go over every death, but the deaths are usually where we find the mistakes. After you get Baron,
Of course.
look at the actual state of the game. Your Jhin and you are sitting here, your Warwick's nowhere near you, and your teammate goes in and probably dies, right? So
Or should have just
why
run
would we
away.
walk further up? Yeah, like we have no way of ever winning this fight, but you still walk up to go for more kills, and it's because Yasuo gets a kill or a big ult. But again, we're two people, they're four, and you walk even further here instead of just backing up. Like if you just eat out and backed up right now, you would survive. Also, another small thing, you see there's 3 stacks here. We could have just used our Q to get those if we wanted. Again, it's a small thing,
And
but
then
yeah,
run away.
yeah, you see you walk forward here. You could have just eat out and you would be fine. But walking forward makes you die, and now you don't, you're not going to get the dragon, and you're not going to be able to push with Baron. So you're just, I think you don't give up on fights early enough as well. That's definitely something we've seen a couple times, is you don't know when to give up on fights.
It's the greed mentality, right? You mentioned.
Yeah. Which I prefer this to being really scared, so don't lose that, right? Don't be overly scared, because it's way better to try to play overly aggressive than overly scared, but we could dial it back just a little bit.
Okay.
And it looks like your Warwick might get the dragon. I don't know.
I
Yeah.
think he did. Oh
What
yeah,
a
there
goat.
you go.
But this game
Yeah,
is
this
still
game
incredibly hard.
this game was. I remember thinking this game was more exciting than the other one
No, yeah,
because
like you said, you didn't have losses, but this is like as good as a loss because it's a close game. Like close games are better than even like getting stomped in a loss, right? Because we can learn a lot more when the game's really close. So this is a great game to learn from in general. Here you back off, which is good because obviously none of your teammates are really
yeah,
nearby. And then I like how you're getting autos off because they're distracted with Trinamir, but I'm guessing you're not going to end up winning this fight. You do a good job of spacing and not going too far up, but still getting damage off. Like in general, you're really good at getting damage on them, even while like staying out of range and not getting hooked or DC'd. So I mean, I really do like how you play the team fights in general. Like your mechanics and spacing is pretty good overall. Really good, really. Crazy play from Warwick.
yeah. This Warwick, I enjoyed playing with him.
Again, small thing, you could have just E'd there. I'm 95% sure you have E. What you saw, like,
Yes,
again,
yeah.
I know it's kind of nitpicky, but we do need to focus on this since it's one of those small things. As soon as you walk back, you might as well have just E'd here. Like, as soon as you step back, right
Might
there,
have,
you just E. There's no reason not to. And then it's hard for them to target you. It's just easier to survive, so.
and I could have kind of helped the Warwick a little bit.
Yeah, he might have even been able to run back with you. But like overall, the range, using your range, I mean, I don't know how many stacks you have, but you probably have like close to 80 or 100 or something. So I mean, your range is incredible right now.
Oh yeah, too bad we can't see it from this. I guess that's the con of using
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter. It's
this
just a cool
replay.
thing to see.
Yeah,
And then again, like here, just go bot. Look at that huge bot wave. You know, like you'll get like 5 to 10 stacks from that if your team farms it. Like there's no reason not to be there right now. You know, just a ton of free stacks.
yeah. Oh, I think I.
You go, no, you see,
Oh
you go and
no!
you farm again.
Oh
Yeah,
no!
so
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is kind
yeah.
of the issue. We farm a bit too much of our jungle, which it's fine to farm jungle on like ADCs and carries, but the problem is here we want stacks, so we'd prefer to go with our team here. And like,
Okay.
I wouldn't go further. Like you saw that wave that they cleared, you should go to that wave, but you shouldn't go up here like when he goes for the second wave. Then you go back because you don't want to go like all the way up with your split pusher. You just go and you get some when you can, and then you go back with your team. So don't overly like go with the split pusher, but just like when the wave is close to your tower or something, that's when you can go and just get some stacks for free.
Okay. Yeah, when Senna has a lot of stacks, it's also very easy to stay at the back because the range is the range
Yeah, the
boost
range is
really
insane.
nice.
Edge of Night is really good here too because it's hard to get hooked, so that's good.
Yeah, I take that item quite a bit. I think.
Played this well so far.
Yeah, I almost
You're a
never
bit too
use my
far.
E. I just
Yeah, you
remember it,
go
yeah.
again. It's just you could have given up a little earlier. Also, again, you didn't ever use your E, did we? So like we've used like maybe 5 E's in this whole game, right? Like we could use that ability a lot more. So that's just one thing.
Okay.
Let's look back at this though, because could we have walked somewhere else? And this is hindsight thing, trust me. Like, but looking at the positioning of our team, like, do we have a dead team? No, he's there. Like, I just feel like we need to be. We're like not really close to our team. We're kind of just like sitting on the edge here without our team really. Like, if we go around with our team here, and then we're coming more like from the back line while our team engages. Like, if we're over this wall autoing, like you could probably be over. Do you see where my cursor is or no?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so like if you were on like this wall, just imagine how much free damage you get over the wall instead of being here where they can easily walk into you, you know? So if you're just here, it's probably way easier to get damage, and the only way you die here is if you get Blitzcrank hooked, but you have Edge of Night, so they can't do that. So again, instead of walking here, if you're over that wall, because of your range, you can auto everyone, but it's impossible for you to die. And you can flash out over this wall or something, so I guess for that positioning thing, that's not something I initially noticed, but that's something that after going through it we could be doing, is just finding better pockets to kind of stand in with how high our range is and going more like behind our team instead of kind of like you were kind of sitting on the edge there trying to like you weren't really next to your team, I guess. So
Okay.
How do you win this game? Does Jin steal this or something? Like, does he just ult and just get it? Like, I'm so confused.
I forgot. Let me.
We'll see.
No, I don't think he steal it.
So you win when they. How do you win? I'm gonna take a drink. One sec. Talking a lot makes my throat very
It's
sore.
okay.
Yeah, I still have no idea how we win this. Like your opponents are awful. Like I don't know how we don't win, or how they don't win. But
But I guess this is also a lesson as well, how to not lose when you're ahead or
like they should
something.
try forcing Baron here because of the fact that they're so far ahead. But then they should just force the fight because they can win every fight with Elder. So like for me, I'd just be starting Baron if I'm them. Like someone should sweep the Baron, and then either just force a fight or like on their team they should force a fight. For us, I mean, we just need to sit back in auto and not go too far or get caught. You use a good E there, by the way. That's good. Like that. Then you're just sitting back and autoing. I like how you play this so far for the most part. You did take
This
a lot
was
of
so
damage,
scary.
but yeah.
This was so scary because I was expecting to die at like any. Yeah, I guess I did.
There's no way you win, right? What? What?
Did I win or lose? No, I
There's
forget.
no shot you win. Like they have to win here. Like if they don't win here, like I'll sell my kidney. I don't know. Yeah,
Okay,
no,
I think
there's
I
no.
might have.
You definitely lose, right? Like there's no way.
I think I lose, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you do
Okay,
lose.
okay. I guess I lost. I recall the game.
Okay, okay. I was gonna say like if you won that game, like
Okay, I guess it was a loss then. Yeah, because it was like a couple days ago. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
played a
okay.
lot of games, so I forgot.
So
Yeah.
we'll go back to here. So again, it's pretty similar mistakes as to the first time, but I guess we can just position over walls. You know what I mean? Like when we were talking about that one situation. What else was it that we went over? I'm trying to think.
Um. I
Oh,
specifically that game it was the E when moving backwards, but I
yeah.
guess it's kind of covered by point two.
I am so bad at typing. Okay, and then just in the late game, in mid to late game, we can go to side lanes with our team to get stacks.
Oh right, yes. When I was trying to farm the jungle
Yeah.
camps, I should not have done that. Yeah.
Don't farm your jungle unless close to item. Like the only time you should really be farming your jungle as Senna is when you're really close to an item and you need that. So apart from that, yeah,
Okay.
just don't. And then I don't think that we had a percentage. I don't know if we had a percentage based pen item, but you know, percentage based pen item gonna be pretty value. 5/3
Okay.
item most games.
Okay.
But the Edge of Night in that game specifically was really good because of the Blitzcrank hook. So like keep going Edge of Night in games like that, and that's gonna be great. But in general, the percentage base could be very useful for us. Again, you have mistakes that are important to look at, but you don't have like a ton of things. Like your positioning is good, your team fighting is pretty good. We could give up on fights a bit earlier, so remember like a couple of fights. Give up on losing fights faster. But at the same time, again, I want you, if you think there's a chance to win the fight, to still stay on it. So it's not bad that you're like staying pretty long, but sometimes like the fights are completely lost and we need to be aware of that and then get out. So
Okay. Like
are there
when
any of
there's like
these
a straight
points
up
that
like.
yeah? Are there any of these points that you're like confused about or you want me to explain better, or is there any other questions you have, or what do you think?
Yeah. I actually do have a question for that point nine.
Mm-hmm.
Um. Would you when you say give up on losing fights faster? Personally, what goes through your mind like when is it just numbers, like counting the numbers advantage that the opponent has, that determines whether you give up a fight? Well, I'm not sure if it can be reduced to a formula like that, but I just want to know maybe what goes through your mind when you decide to
Yeah,
stay or give up. Right.
So
Yeah.
let's just go look at the Baron fight, and I'll explain to you kind of what I would think about as like there's that Baron fight that we were too long, so I'm gonna try to find that.
Sure.
This is the one where you stole Baron, which is here. So for here, every fight I want to pay attention to who on my team's alive, right? So how long until we're respawning? We're respawning in 3 seconds. So currently I know my jungler is dead, meaning it's basically impossible to steal. So here, somehow it works, but I wouldn't, like I would follow if my team goes, but otherwise I wouldn't even go for the steal because my jungler is dead. So like there's no way we're actually stealing this if the enemy have any type of brain. But you go here, which is fine because you're Senna, so you're probably not going to die since you have Edge of Night and you're not going to get hooked over the wall. I ult my teammate. I'm looking here. I have 3 people and someone going in who's definitely going to die. So I have a Tryndamere who's about to die. Yasuo goes in, and obviously it's hard to think about this all at once, right? I understand that, like, you can't think about everything, but I know my jungler's dead. Now he's respawning in the back, but he's nowhere near us. We have 4 people. They have all 5. Like, you can obviously only see 4 here, but you know they're all 5 alive, and, like, why wouldn't their 5th person come? So we know that they have a number advantage, first of all. What is my goal here? Again, I think about the goal, right? What do I want? I want the Baron. So if we get the Baron, there's no way we can ever kill them. They're 5 people, we're 4 people, and my Tryndamere is already basically dead. So just lower health and more people are dead, basically, is what we look at. And then if we steal an objective, there's nothing left to fight over. Like, we want to survive with the objective so we can get value out of our Baron, right? So that's basically what I'm thinking about here. So the fact that you're going up and autoing here is fine because I'm like, I'm pretty safe. I can keep autoing, so you go for it. It's good. You get a free kill on him there. You walk up to auto here. I'm fine with this because you see your Yasuo's full health. So I would continue walking like you are. It's just here, my Yasuo dies, but you walk forward even more. And like also you could have stayed here because your range I'm pretty sure is long enough where you could be like, you know, by your Jhin and you'd still be able to get damage. But you walk forward for no reason here. So that's really the issue. Is not that you're trying to get damage off even in a fight that's losing. It's that you're trying to win the fight still. Like, you can get damage off and still know that you're going to lose a fight. But here you're walking so far forward anyways. So that it's more just, for me, if I am to reduce it to a formula, I look at how many people we have versus them, which is obvious, right? I look at, I'll go to the notes to write this so that we can have it written down. Look at how many people we have compared to them. Look at health bars. And if you have a champ, like, this is a bit of a weird thing, but if you know, if you have like a Samira, for example, right? And you hear me, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if you have like a Samira or something, you can always win a fight even if you're down, right? Because of her ult, she could just team wipe. Or like any champ, I'm trying to think of other champs that can team wipe people with like one ult or ability, right? But you know what I mean? Like, we just have a champ who is possibly able to 1v9 and we're losing in a game like that, then YOLO it, right? It's fine to go for it. So I don't even mind that much because you're down 8,000 gold in this situation and you're trying to win a fight and you see your Yasuo going, that's okay. But in general, if you don't have a champ that can 1v9 the fight, then if it looks really losing because of low health bars or because of less people, then I would give up. So how would I describe it? If I say, and if you have a 1v9 champ, like, does that make sense to you or no?
Yeah, like,
Okay.
you know, if there's a really fed Yi and he keeps jumping all over the place or something. Yeah.
Then you can stay longer. Because your goal then in this fight is to like just get the Samira ahead, or to get the Samira to 1v9. And especially again, like, I don't mind that much because you're losing this game pretty hard. And when you're losing a game hard, go for these aggressive plays that probably aren't going to work out. It's perfectly fine. So I don't mind that too much, but there were some like earlier cases where we also give up, or we don't give up on fights enough. So yeah, any other questions, or does that make sense? Or
yeah, I think that was one of the main things.
Okay.
And then also, do you, with regards to like the warding in the laning phase, do you tend to put it like on the lane bush or on the river?
So what I look
does
at,
that depend when the jungle starts?
what I look at is who the jungler is. So
Okay.
how well do you understand like junglers, like how good they are at ganking and such?
Uh, not too good because I
Okay.
can only play a couple just in case if I have to
Do you
fill.
know how the junglers like their abilities though? Like you know pretty much every jungle champion's abilities, at least.
I have a rough idea. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So the simple thing to look at is like, for example, this game. Just think about Darius, right? Where would you want to ward against Darius and why?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
So their jungler is Darius. What
Yes.
ward? What ward do you think is better in this game?
Um, I think in this case, I still put it in the. I forgot if I did it, but I would do it in the lane because the Blitzcrank.
Okay, so you're worried about Blitzcrank, which is understandable. And overall, Darius, like I said, is not the best at ganking, but you're only thinking about Blitzcrank, which is fine. But he's usually going to just take control ward and kill your ward anyways. Most Blitzcranks would. So having
Okay.
the ward is not going to be that useful unless you think you can overtake the bush. And for here, Blitzcrank and Samira will probably bully you out of the bush if they're smart. So it's going to be pretty hard to actually, like, you could poke them, I guess, because Jin, Samira, or Jin, Senna probably can poke them out. So you could probably end up getting the ward away, or getting away with the ward and to be good. But which bush do we ward? Because I wouldn't ward the far bush. I would ward the close bush if we're going to ward something.
Well, I have a. Okay, you're right. I have a tendency to do that.
Yeah, don't ward
Yeah.
this bush. Okay, because think about it, right? You walk here, if Blitzcrank's in that bush, he hooks you and you lose the game. Not literally lose the game, but you die, or you at least lose flash. This doesn't actually give you anything. And not to mention, if they have control ward, they're going to kill this ward, and then they get level 2 before you, and then you lose the lane because of level 2. You know what I mean? Because then they can run at you.
Okay.
So never ward here, really, ever. You could ward this bush that you're standing in, so that you can protect them from going into your own bush. But you don't need to ward that bush, because like, just don't get hooked there, because you can just use the minions or just don't walk up. Just assume if there's a hook champ that they're standing in that bush. You don't actually need to know it, just assume they're there. If you don't see them, they're probably in that bush because they do it all the time. So instead, just ward this bush, and then so that makes sense, right? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
so then for Darius specifically, or what I'll look at for most ganking champions is, do they have a dash? So I can ask you, I assume you know, does Darius have a dash?
No.
Yeah, so the only way he can really get close to you is his flash, or if he has ghost, right? So he only has one way to
Yes.
kill you. And if he flashes onto you, if you flash, you're probably going to survive, correct?
Yes.
So obviously, like, maybe like stuff goes differently, Blitzcrank flashes and hooks you or something, but typically you can escape his gank from a flash and nothing else. So if you think you can escape the enemy jungler gank from just flashing and nothing else, then it's pretty fine to ward the bush or something, because you can probably survive a gank anyways. But if you think that the gank is going to be unsurvivable if they like get the jump on you and surprise you, that's when you're going to want to ward like more in the river, right? So
Okay.
any champ. So let's just go look. I'm gonna go look at your other game quick, and I'm gonna ask you the same question, and I want to see what your decision is. So, who's their jungler? Oh god, that's loud. Who is their jungler in this game? Do we know? Do we remember? I don't remember.
I can't recall.
I'm gonna just go through and try to figure it out real quick, and then I want to ask the same question. I just want to see what we decide on. And then after that, I'm gonna explain more. Just okay, it's Master Yi. So what do we think about a Master Yi ganking us? Do we care about him ganking? Can we escape with flash typically? What do you think?
If I flash after his jumping thing, I forgot what it's called, but
Yeah, I just call it Q.
with an
Yeah.
alpha strike, yeah, his Q. Then I think I can, because early game is not too.
That's
The
exactly
cooldown
my
is-
thoughts. Yes, I was thinking the exact same
Yeah.
thing. As long as you flash after the Q, but you need to have this in mind, because if a Master Yi ganks you and you're not thinking about that, you're probably gonna flash while he Qs you, and then you're probably gonna die, right? Because like, if it's not in our mind, usually it's just a habit. If we get damaged, we flash, right? So as long as you're thinking, okay, I need to wait for his Q to go off, then I flash, you can probably survive his gank. So once again, if you want to ward the bush to bully them out of the bush, it's good. And if you do decide you want to ward the bush, I would probably go for a control ward instead, because then you can take their wards out as well. Because your goal, if you ward the bush, is to take control of the bush and to bully them out of it, instead of just warding it to see if they're there, because you should just assume they're there if you don't see them, because that's usually what happens. And then again, another thing for this is who the support is, right? Like a Blitzcrank is scary in a bush, so even going to ward it is scary, so usually you don't want to do that because he can bully you out of a bush. But this Lux, for example, it's pretty good to have the wards because you can take control of the bush because you're going to be stronger than her in the bush, or roughly the same strength. So, but overall then, to kind of summarize it, I think about the jungler, and if I think they can gank me, and you're going to have to learn this, but for example, Lee Sin, Vi, like these are champs with dashes, like Jarvan, who are very easily able to gank you, right? So if you don't know that a Vi is ganking you, you're already dead if she gets close to you, right? Like even if she just gets to this bush right here, you would be dead here, for example. But if a Master Yi
So
is
she
here,
can dash, and then she have the ultimate, and then there's like multiple ways to get to you.
and the flat, yeah. So if they have other movement abilities, basically, then you probably should ward closer to the river because you want to find where they are earlier so that you can avoid the gank quicker. But yeah, a Master Yi, a Shyvana, like these champs are typically pretty unlikely to gank you early, so it's less important to know where they are early. Now, it's still fine to ward like the river. Like if you want, you can always ward the river, but if you do like the ward or the lane push wards, you can do those, but only do those when you think the jungler won't gank you. So
Okay.
So why don't we make that a quick point? So how would we say that? Like ward a river if you think you will get ganked, right?
Yeah. If they
Or
have
if you think you can't
multiple
escape the gank.
movement. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Or like
Gank and
multiple kind of gap closing abilities, I guess.
yeah, I'll put that in parentheses. So if they have multiple gap closers, such as Vi, then Jarvan. Okay, so I think that probably makes sense, right? Overall, too.
Yeah.